One of the things I wanted to pick your brain about is this idea of peace, because Kim McCarthy came onto the show a while back. He wrote a book about how JFK wanted to basically, I guess, hold Israel accountable when it came to nuclear weapons. And JFK wanted peace, wanted to move away from these wars. And some would argue that that's why JFK was assassinated, that that's why he's no longer here. This is the fear I think that some people have. Some people feel as though if they're a presidential candidate and they run on this anti-war message, that they too will be JFK'd, right? And to that point, I have to say that I think you just have to be fierce and you have to push back against like those powers out there. But I think that what is starting to happen, and I'm noticing it from voters as well, they're like, well, of course, Trump's going to say this because he wants to play their game. People said the same thing in 2024 when Kamala Harris was running. They said, well, she has to say that because she's got to pretend to play their game. But then I look at the money that is attached to the political candidates, like money from AIPAC, money from Kufi. And it's just, I don't think they're not just playing a game. They bought into this system, and that's how they were allowed to go as far as they did. And I wonder if JFK would have lived, if he wasn't assassinated, does Israel get as far as it does? Does it get to this point where it's a tiny place, but it has so much power when it comes to U.S. Politics? And what has happened to the Palestinian people? Does it get to that point if JFK lives?
Well, let me say, first of all, I also wrote a book about President Kennedy's peace efforts. It's called To Move the World, JFK's Quest for Peace. It's actually a book about the last year of his life, from the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis to the signing of a peace agreement with the Soviet Union called the Partial Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. And Kennedy was the most gifted statesman in that year of any president that we've had in modern times. I think Franklin Roosevelt was our greatest president. Kennedy was the only one in my lifetime that I would say reached greatness. And on the question, was he killed for his peace efforts? I think there's a good argument for it. Of course, there are things that are not known, but the things that become more and more known suggest that this was a CIA action, at least an action in which James Angleton, who was the head of counter-espionage of the CIA, played an active role. And one of the things Kennedy said at one moment was that he wanted to take the CIA and tear it up into 1,000 pieces. And maybe they went and got him as a result of that. So Kennedy was a great peacemaker. He gave a speech on June 10, 1963. It's known in history as the peace speech. It's online. People can listen to it. It's just mesmerizing. My poor family, I made them listen probably 50 times as I was writing my book. So they all heard it again and again and again. Now, the role of Israel in all of this is highly controversial. What we can say is Angleton, who clearly had some relationship, perhaps the mastermind or the one who used Lee Harvey Oswald, because Oswald papers were in Angleton's safe, and Angleton lied about the relationship throughout his whole life. Angleton had close relations with Mossad. This is for sure true. And so that link exists. But there are many other links also. There's the Cuba link, the anti-Castro Cubans who definitely at some low level were engaged in this conspiracy, or I don't say definitely, but I think very highly likely. There was the mob, which was involved as well. So there's a lot that isn't sure, but Kennedy resisted Israel's attempt to get atomic weapons. This is for sure. And the Israelis were very very unhappy about that, and they were determined to get atomic weapons. And it seems very likely that James Angleton played a role with Mossad in facilitating Israel getting atomic weapons. So there are all sorts of things that need to be better understood. What I would say is, though, Kennedy had a lot of enemies among the war party, whether it was Vietnam, whether it was Cuba, perhaps Israel, but he had a lot of enemies. And I think it was a conspiracy to kill him. And I think what you said is also true. And some historians have said, ever since Kennedy's assassination, no president has been an independent actor because they're all scared. And, you know, what motivates Trump? Do the Epstein files motivate Trump? It's quite possible. That's not some crazy idea. There's, I would say, overwhelming evidence that Epstein was a Mossad asset, and that all the stuff with Epstein had Israel blackmail around it. What's Epstein doing meeting repeatedly with Israeli leaders during this period? And you watch the behavior of the political class, including Trump. They don't say a word that's honest about this stuff. So, you know, you have enough reason to say, whoa, something weird is really going on there.
And how was Epstein able to get a job as a college professor, and said that he graduated from Harvard? The Harvard alumni circle is,
Yeah.
I mean, people know if you went to Harvard.
Yeah. No, and he was deeply involved in MIT. There was so many weird things that make sense if you put it into the context of a Mossad operation. And I think it most likely was.
Even when we look at someone like RFK, who, based on what I've read and the videos that I've watched, it seems like RFK probably would have won if he wasn't killed. And it seemed like he really found a way to energize the young people, the anti-war movement. And then he also was assassinated. And a lot of times people go back to JFK and RFK because they look at them and they feel like that seems like that was the last time.
Yeah, RFK, I was 14 at the time. RFK was the great first political love of my life. Of course, I knew President Kennedy, but I was much younger. But RFK, that was the campaign, and he stirred people, and he inspired, and he was going to be president. And certainly people knew that he was going to go after the secrets of the assassination. And that's definitely one motivation. And there are so many things wrong with the conventional narrative that Sirhan by himself committed this crime, including the fact that the chief coroner rejected that conclusion, saying that it was the forensic evidence runs completely against it. Sirhan was in the front, but Kennedy was shot behind the right ear, and the shots came from a different direction. And a lot of eyewitnesses saw multiple people with guns, and were so many things wrong with the LAPD investigation, so-called, and so many links with the CIA that seems to have shut down the investigation, that you're just led to absolute despair over this. Of course, it was 4 people who were systematically killed in this period, the 2 Kennedys, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. And that was snuffing out the chance for a new America in the 1960s, no doubt about it.
Why do you think RFK Jr. Has the position that he has on Israel? When he first announced that he was running, there were more people that were in favor of a lot of the things he was talking about. He was talking about the CIA, how it was a problem, et cetera. And as time went by, then October 7th happened and people saw his position on Israel. And a lot of us were like, whoa, what is wrong with this guy? Like, it was really weird to me. Do you feel that RFK Jr. Is it because he was on Epstein's jet as well, which he has acknowledged, doesn't mean he did anything on that island? Do you feel like they tried to blackmail him? Well, why does he have that staunch position on Israel?
I don't know. I asked him the same question. I did not get a satisfactory answer. We're friends. We're classmates. We've known each other for a half century. So I like Bobby a lot. But I don't agree with him on this issue, of course.
Yeah, that was one we scratched our heads about. And when it comes to Gaza, what is the future for Gaza in your opinion? Right now, Donald Trump, I just don't believe any of this anymore, is announcing that, we have a ceasefire agreement coming forward and things are going to work out great for the Palestinian people. And I envision that they're going to continue killing them, or they're going to make them leave regardless. I see it as ethnic cleansing. I don't know how Israel gets away with this in the world's view. Like, the world is turned against Israel.
Yes, that's
the numbers
correct.
show that as well. I just don't understand, like, what is the future for the Palestinian people after this?
I wrote an open letter to Israel's foreign minister, which I posted yesterday, which if people are interested, they can find on Common Dreams. I sat behind the foreign minister at the UN Security Council last week, and I was really, really taken aback by the words of the foreign minister. I found them outrageous, especially since this man was representing a government that is systematically starving 2 million people, many of them dying now of their starvation. So you could find a detailed account of my views. The basic view is that in a not a hidden way, the government of Israel says that they're going to control all of Palestine. They're not going to leave the occupied territories. Now, there are 3 occupied territories of Palestine, meaning territories that were captured in the 1967 war. If you go back to the borders before that war, the borders of the 4th of June, 1967, you have Gaza, you have the West Bank, and you have East Jerusalem. There are about roughly 6 million Palestinian Arabs living in those 3 areas, and another 2 million living in Israel itself. Under international law, Israel is illegally occupying Gaza, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem. It should leave, and those 3 places should become a state of Palestine. That's the so-called 2-state solution. It would work. It would be peaceful. It would be a solution. It's supported by more than 180 countries in the world. So what stops it? Of course, Israel stops it first because Israel says, no, we are going to control everything. Second, it's the United States. The U.S. is the only major country in the world that supports Israel's extremism. Not just supports it, funds it, and arms it. So this is a joint U.S.-Israeli genocide that's underway right now. The U.S. is actively complicit in this. The American people are against this. The latest Gallup survey showed about 70% of Americans, 60% of Americans siding with Palestine and about 30% approving of Israel. So it's a 2-to-1 ratio. But American foreign policy is not made by the American people. It's made by lobbyists. It's made by military contractors. It's made by money It's made by insider interests. It's made by blackmail, as we were talking about. It's made by many things. And so our policy is complicity in genocide. Now, if you ask, what does Israel really want? Whatever they say day to day, it has been Netanyahu's whole political career to oppose a state of Palestine. And Likud, which is his political party, in its founding charter, says explicitly, from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea, Israel will be sovereign. So it's ironic that it came to be said by the US government that the chant from the river to the sea is anti-Semitic. It's actually a line directly out of the Likud political charter, but meaning that Israel will dominate the Palestinian people. And then you rightly ask, well, how could that ever be? There are 8 million Palestinian Arabs, 8 million Jews. Well, the only answer is expel them or kill them, starve them, or dominate them through apartheid. And that's Israel's approach. It varies day by day or month or year by year, but the approach is outright hostility. But it's worse than that because it's so blatant and so vulgar that other governments in the region said, no, this is outrageous. We support the Palestinian cause. And Iran supported Hezbollah and Hamas to some extent. And Israel's approach is not, well, maybe we should compromise, maybe we should have two states and so forth. Their approach is, well, we have to go to war with any government that supports the Palestinian cause. And since Israel is a small country, they look to the United States. Hey, you go to war for us. Netanyahu's the one that told us go to war with Iraq in 2003. People can go on the internet and find Netanyahu speaking to Congress in the fall of 2002 saying it's going to be a great war. It's going to inspire everybody. It's going to bring peace. It's going to be wonderful. He's a jerk and always has been a jerk. And he got the U.S. into lots of wars. So what's going to happen now? There are more than 180 countries that say a state of Palestine, and many more joining day by day right now. Australia most recently, France and Britain saying that they'll recognize the state of Palestine. This is almost the whole world now. It's just Israel, the United States, and a handful of countries that resist. And most of these countries are tiny. Micronesia, Nauru, Vanuatu. I dare people to point them out on the map. They're tiny. These are little Pacific islands. Some of them by law have to vote with the U.S. and Paraguay and Argentina. Okay, it's about 6 that oppose, but all the rest say two-state solution. If there is going to be peace, all that has to happen is Donald Trump needs to say, okay, we recognize the state of Palestine. Gaza is going to belong to the Palestinians. Actually, the Arab states all through the region would support a demilitarization and a local governance by the Palestinians. They would back it up financially. They would back up the rebuilding financially. They've said so repeatedly. But the United States, till this moment, says, no, 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 we support Israel. Israel has the right to exist. A right to exist is not the right to exterminate another people.
That is a very good quote there. But things are looking somewhat hopeful in different ways. This is a big story that just came out. Norway, it appears that their wealth fund, the wealth fund of Norway, just divested from 11 Israeli companies. This is a huge story. I'm not sure if everybody is aware of it, but it seems like more people are willing to divest from Israel as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. They divested from 11. There are about 40 others that they still invest in. So when it was announced, people said, okay, not a bad first step, but keep going. So we'll see what happens. But yes, it was a real step a couple of days ago.
Yes, indeed. And two more things for you, Professor Sachs. You're at Columbia University. I think under the Biden administration, it seems like to me, they were shocked at the rise of the students denouncing this genocide in Gaza. And it almost seemed like they didn't really know how to respond to this at first, at least. And Columbia has a deep history with this, as so does Harvard, standing up against apartheid South Africa. So this was not the first time. Why do you feel like the press and in particular the police more so heavily targeted the protesters at Columbia University? And they targeted them at other universities too, but it seemed like to me the crackdown was so much greater at Columbia University when you compare it to some of the other colleges.
Well, it was very visible protest, but to claim that Columbia University is an anti-Semitic institution is just about the most ridiculous imaginable claim in the world. Oh my God, are you kidding? I can't even go there. It's so absurd. But that is the meme because the Israel lobby is pushing this, and Trump is pushing this nonsense. And it's vulgar. It's so totally phony. You don't even know where to start.
Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.